Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builder Supply. This video is to bring you a closer look at the Don Jo number PULP-211CP. This is a chrome-plated latch protector, and here it is. This is what this looks like. A fairly less common latch guard, latch protector, only because it's cut out like this, which is only maybe less common because you're dealing with, you know, an escutcheon on a mortise lock is where you would see this. You'd have this long cutout here when you're dealing with that sort of lock prep. You know, an exit device with an escutcheon trim, lever trim escutcheon, you know, would you really use a latch guard? Some people do, but there's no latch there to Lloyd at all because that Pullman latch or square bolt latch is back behind the door. So this would be for a mortise lock that's going to have a long escutcheon, or an interconnected lock as well might use this. A cylindrical or tubular interconnected lock. They make those that have both rows, and escutcheon trim on the outside. Or you simply have, you know, the need to bring your lock trim in closer to where this line is. So this large cutout is advantageous because you can fit more of this item into that constrained area. If this was straight down, you'd have a lot more room that you would need to allow for just to fit this on. This allows you to get up closer to the hardware. That's what it is. It'd be for this would be appropriate for a single door, and I'll show you why in a moment. Overall length, here we go. About 11 3/4. Overall width, about 3 9/16. Down over here, looks like it's closer to about 2 9/16. That dimension in here is about 8 5/8 by just 1 inch. Center to center on the holes for the screws, just for the sake of giving that to you. I don't know if this is in the template or not. It might be. It ought to be. Looks like it's about 10 3/8 or so. This model features a anti-pry pin, that red cap. So what you do with that is you drill a hole into the face of the frame, and when the door closes, that seats inside the hole. That's really nice because it works to prevent someone from putting a large bar between the door and frame and spreading the door open. And it's a common tactic that people will use to break in. They'll take the jambs and belly them out so that you can literally just push the door open, especially in residential construction and very commonly in poor residential construction. The West Loop area of Chicago went through huge gentrification in the late 80s and 90s. Huge. However, a lot of poor carpentry. Entry doors to the thousands of condos that were built there were just backed with metal studs, and a rash of burglaries where someone's walking around with a 2x4 that's cut to 37 inch, pop it in the jamb and then force it down, and it just takes the jamb and belly it. You can just push the door open. So that anti-pry pin works to defeat that sort of attack. Would you want one rather than not one? Yes. Would you want a model that has 2 over 1? Yes, absolutely. You don't want them to spread that out. Now, if you have a frame that's been packed with mortar, that's solid, that's not moving. You'll need to drive into it with a truck to get it to move, and at that point, you're doing a lot of damage to the truck. It'd be awfully difficult to be able to spread a door in a frame that's been poured in a wall, a masonry wall, especially when it's been filled. But, you know, you do want to prevent people from attempting it. You could have an alley that there's never any traffic, there's no cameras, there's no lights. Lots of opportunity for someone to be able to work on the door. Will a latch protector stop someone from getting in? No, because there's always a larger crowbar, so to speak. Whether it be a screwdriver or your foot or a crowbar or the bumper of a van, you can get the door to crease. But latch protectors generally just keep honest people honest. You don't want people to be able to Lloyd the latch easily. You don't want to invite someone to tamper with the material. Latch protectors do exactly that. And that anti-spread pin is well worth the drilling of the face of the frame, even if it's packed with mortar. as well. So we've got the dimensional properties. What you'll notice here is that there is an offset from this area to this area. It's literally offset. It's a pretty large offset. It's certainly more than really necessary. And that's because doors have an inset. The door is inset into the face of the frame. So this little giddy up, or this offset here, accommodates the fact that the door is resting inside of the frame a little bit. And let's see if we can, well, get an idea of what our offset dimension really is, if nothing other than a educated guess. And it's going to be about 3/16 is going to be the offset. That looks a lot greater than it actually is. And an inset of the door is about 3/32 of an inch, so about half of what that offset is. But that offset allows the contending of a jamb that may not be perfectly level, or not true plumb level and square, a jamb that's twisted, kicked out a little bit, where you need a little breathing room for the latch protector once installed to actually be able to permit the latch to secure itself within the strike, because that offset allows a little bit of breathing room. If the frame is perfectly level, perfectly square in the opening, you won't have any trouble. But if there's a bit of twist, or it's kicked out a little bit, or both, the latch protector can easily prevent the door from closing, because the door wants to close against it, but now you're forcing it to close against the face of the frame. And if that jamb isn't, you know, true plumb level and square, that's why you've got that extra build-in on the offset to account for the inset and other things that might come into play. And plus, you know, both dimensions can't be in the same place. You can't have 10 pounds of sausage in a 10-pound bag. You have to have a little bit of room there. So let's talk about where you would install this. Single doors, obviously. This would not be appropriate for a pair of doors, because you wouldn't have a function of an inset at all. So this would not be appropriate for a pair of doors, even though you'll see them on pairs of doors. You know, it's not correct, though, because you can sneak something behind there. This has a recessed area that's going to allow for the lip of your strike plate. So your strike's going to come off the jamb. That recessed area will allow that lip to reside within there and still make proper movement to the face of the frame, so that your latch can secure the door to the strike. So that's what that area there is for. Suppose we should probably put a dimension on that. Looks like it's about 5.5 inch overall height. Overall projection is about 1/2 inch less the thickness of the material, which is about 100 thousandths. So about, you know, 3/8 of an inch would be a realistic dimension for the depth of that cavity. If your lip length is not more than 3/8 off the face of the jamb, well, actually, no, it'd be less than that. I mean, it'd be more than that. If it's not more than almost 7/16, you're going to be in good shape. Standard lip length is not going to be projecting more than that anyway, so it seals off that area. Let's switch to the, actually, before we do that, no, let's switch to the screen view, then we'll come back and take a look at the mounting bolts that are with us. Okay, so this is the item that we're looking at. Now, the factory image here is not accurate, but they have an amended image that they show here with that notch, and that's truly the one that we're dealing with. Made of 12-gauge steel, as you can see here. This is going to be chrome plated. It's definitely made of steel. It has a chrome plating on it. Pin is welded on back, leaving no visible point of attack on the outside, that anti-pry pin. A couple of 5/16, 18, 2 1/4 inch carriage bolts with acorn nuts and washers are included, and we'll show you how that needs to get installed shortly. Link to the cut sheet is here, and that's going to be a technical drawing. And this template will give you all of those dimensional properties. They were saying it's a 1/4 inch offset. We were in that range. It's hard to measure that exactly. I believe it a little heavier than a 1/4 inch. 11 3/4 by 3 9/16. Got that prep there. It also indicates other finishes. 626, they don't have a 626. It'll probably be this CP, the chrome plated. You can do it in a brass plated, in a dark bronze powder coated, and then in a silver powder coated finish as well. and those options. Then there is a link to the product catalog, and that's handy because you'll be able to review all of the latch protectors from Don Jo. We'll take our part number and copy it, and we will do a find function on our keyboard for the part number, and we'll get to it. You can see that that image is coming from the factory, but I know that they have an image here as it shows up on, let's see, does it show up on 2 tables? No, it doesn't. It's just referred to here, but this is the item that we're actually looking at, the PU-LP-211. Okay. Yeah, 626, that would mean that it's made of brass and in a satin chrome finish. I'm not sure what direction they're going with that. They don't have any of these that are made of brass. Chrome plated or brass plated or dark bronze powder coated or silver powder coated is what they'll do. If you want stainless steel, very common, the most common, just change that part number to a PU-LP-111. That'll just mean stainless steel, base material. Probably what you want would be my guess. The rest of this document will allow you to review all of the latch protectors from Don Jo. There are 2 primary types of latch protectors, and that's what you have to know first. Is it an in-swing door or an out-swing door? And that will divide the direction that you go in. If it's an in-swing, you're going to be dealing with something that looks like this 2-piece design, as they see here. If it's out-swing, which obviously is the most common, then you have lots of options to review. And a scroll through the catalog is indeed very handy, and it will allow you to select the latch protector based on the application. What type of lock do you have? You know, what size is it? How does it have to work in conjunction with the latch protector? You know, how many locks are you trying to cover? 1 or 2? You know, angle style, more petite style, very narrow. Larger versions of this, a bit more elegant looking. Specialty units, if you have a center hung aluminum storefront style door, you can use this large offset unit. Speaking of aluminum storefront, other types that encapsulate the entire strike area. Okay, so very useful to be able to go through this catalog. Now, there is a link below this video to the manufacturer's page. That is going to allow you to review not only all of the Don Jo products that we sell, but also a link to the manufacturer's website, which is here, as well as a link to the full product catalog, which we have broken up into several individual catalog sections here, just so that it makes it a bit more, you know, maneuverable. That whole catalog's a bit unwieldy. So if you're looking for latch protectors, you might just go there. If you're looking for wraparound plates, which very often go in the same conversation with latch protectors, you'll go here. However, there's another 10 sections of catalog components that you may not have been aware that Don Jo makes, like bolts and latches, door pivots, hinges, ladder pulls, push and pull plates, things of that nature. So you might want to check out the entire catalog as well. Let's switch back to the screen view and let's take a closer look at that mounting hardware. Now they said it came with 5/16 by 18 2¼ inch carriage bolts. It does. They're carriage bolts. They have a square preparation underneath the head, and that allows you to get that installed there. Nothing to attack on the outside, and it won't spin at all. So when you install this, drill through the door, obviously. You know, it's a 5/16 bolt. I'd probably drill 3/8. Your washer, and then your acorn nut. And that's going to finish off your installation. If your door thickness is other than 1 3/4 inches, you might need longer bolts, or you might need to cut these down. If you do need to cut these down, get a 5/16 nut, rotate it on, measure to where you need to cut with the hacksaw, then remove the nut, and that will clean the threads so that you can more reliably take that acorn nut and put it on. Now, what you have to be mindful when you prep for this is on the outside, you know you're going to have, and it's non-handed, by the way, this way or this way, the pin's going to be up or it's going to be down. But from the outside, you'll see the head of your bolts. From the inside, you're literally going to see just that is what you'll see. Now, if you'll follow along, when your door closes up against the stop. It's really the stop face that it makes contact with. You want to make sure that when you install this, and this unit may be more susceptible to the problem, that when you are closing the door with the acorn nut, my jamb, my stop face, my soffit, okay, that this does not make contact with the face of the stop, because you've been able to kind of move this over to a point where you want to be sure that you're not going to hit anything, and I don't think you will, meaning the face of the stop, because let's say that you're going to attach this to the door right about here. The projection of your stop is 5/8, so you're going to be well away from that, but nonetheless, depending on where you attach this, you might need to be mindful of how close you get to the stop. I couldn't imagine that at all you're going to be even remotely close with this style because of the elongated mounting point. They've shoved it quite far out, but you can also move this over, but only to somewhere in this area or possibly here. You might be flushing this off with the jamb so that your door is going to really reside in here, and your stop is only going to encroach into here, so you should be well away from it with this model. The reason I mention it is because Don Jo has their EBF style fastener on the inside, which is a very low profile head that would not pose a problem even if you were installing that material basically in the same area. So be mindful that they have the EBF option, and when you look in their catalog in the latch protectors, you'll see it mentioned, I believe, on page 2. So not a problem with this model that I can tell, but others, yeah, you're going to have, especially when you get those really nice, small, petite, elegant latch protectors, you could run into that, so be mindful. That's all. The name Don Jo is synonymous with security hardware. If you're unfamiliar with them, I would think that you don't expose yourself much to security hardware, latch protectors, door reinforcing plates. If you're a locksmith or someone within the industry, the name Don Jo is likely very familiar to you already. If you're not, what you might find of interest from Don Jo would be strike plates. They make a variety of different strike plates, different sizes, different applications, regular stuff, specialty stuff, security strikes, extended lip strikes as well. A lot of homeowners end up needing specialty strikes because they've done some remodeling. They've changed the casing on the doors, and now the latch bolt is hitting the face of the casing. What do? I need a longer lip strike. Don Jo is a great source for that material. In fact, I would say that they're the most comprehensive source from a single location for extended lip strikes. A lot of residential clients that go out and buy all new locks, that's great, no problem, and then they realize the lip length is too short on the strike, so they reach out to us for help in that regard. If you have any questions on the Don Jo PULP-211 in a CP finish, or any other Don Jo product, please feel free to reach out to us. And thank you. Again, thank you for watching, and if you've enjoyed this video, please click thumbs up. Please subscribe and maybe even send the video to someone that you know. Thank you.